Hey guys, welcome back. Tisha here, back for another segment of It's Getting Real. I want to start off by saying that this case has not made it to trial as of yet. So there are still a lot of unanswered questions, but I feel like it is important for us to talk about it now because this situation could have happened to anyone. Because much like a lot of the other people that I've discussed on this channel, Sade didn't deserve this. Sade Carlina Robinson was a vibrant young woman whose life was tragically cut short, all because she was interested in the wrong guy. And just like that, because of this interaction with this man, the bright future of Sade was abruptly extinguished when she was tragically murdered. The circumstances surrounding her death are shocking and heartbreaking, and to this day, there's a number of questions that remain. Sade Carlina Robinson was born on May 10th, 2004, in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Although her parents, Sheena and Carlos, never married, they did a phenomenal job in raising this beautiful girl. Born into a loving family, she was known for her infectious smile and her kind hearted nature. She was described as inquisitive and bold, always wanting to explore the world around her. She brought joy. Her laugh was contagious. She was beautiful. At a young age, her parents instilled in her the values of hard work and resilience. And shortly before her second birthday, her family decided to move to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There, she lived with her mother and grandparents. By the time she was elementary school age, she split time between Wisconsin, where her mother stayed, and Florida, where her father stayed. Her father, as I said, was in Florida, and he wanted to make sure that he maintained a good co-parenting relationship with Sade's mom, as well as spend time with his daughter. She was in the Girl Scouts, and she played soccer, and she loved dancing, and she loved rapping, and she was very actively involved with her friends and her family. In middle school, however, she started struggling a bit. So when she reached the seventh grade, after a lot of discussions, her mother and father decided that maybe it would be best if she kind of had a reset and she moved to a different environment. So she moves to Florida and lives with her father full time. There, she begins to focus again. And by the time she's in high school at Ida S. Baker High School in Florida, she is considered to be an excellent student. Classmates say that she was funny and beautiful and confident. She was unstoppable, but not in an arrogant way. Then in 2019, after living with her father for a few years and after feeling like she was ready to come back, she returns home to stay with her mom. There, she attends Riverside High School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She does so well that she ends up graduating a semester early, finishing in December of 2001. And let me be clear, she was going to school and working, even in high school. So she enrolls in Milwaukee Area Technical College, where she majors in criminal justice. As she's attending college, she's continuing her job at Pizza Shuttle, a local restaurant that she started working at in the 10th grade. By the time 2024 rolls around, she is a manager. Like, she works her way up to management position. So she moves out of the family home, gets her own place. She was doing so well for herself, you guys. She was determined and she was driven and she was goal oriented and she had dreams and aspirations, and she clearly was on the path of achieving those dreams, excuse me. In 2022, she begins working at the Wisconsin Country Club, meaning that she's holding down two jobs while attending college. Let's jump to 2024. She's 19 and preparing to graduate from MATC with her associate's degree in May. She's working hard, hanging out with friends, enjoying life. Then on April 1st, 2024, everything changes. It's a regular day. She plans to go to work, then after work on a date with a man by the name of Maxwell Anderson, who is 33 at this time and works at a bar. So you have 33-year-old Maxwell and 19-year-old Sade. Already flags are going off for me, but I understand that sometimes this happens. There are older men that love younger women, and there are younger women who are interested in older men. Now, officials aren't sure how they met. It's been said that it may have been on a dating app, whereas some people feel like it might have been at the bar that Maxwell worked at, because the bar that he worked at was a bar that Sade and her friends frequented, and they didn't card there. So some people feel like it's that. But either way, these two individuals meet. It's leaning more heavily towards the dating app, though. And they make plans. So the plan is for them to meet up for a date around 5. So Sade talks to her mother via FaceTime, as she was known to do. She then heads to work at the pizza shuttle. Court documents show that between 4:15 p.m. and 5:18 p.m. April 1st, that Sade and Maxwell text each other about their plans. I'll read those messages. She says, "Where are we meeting? I can do 5. He says, downtown somewhere. She says, okay. Maxwell then texts back, suggesting, let's go to Brat House on 3rd. She says, perfect. He says, okay. I'm going to shower quick. I'll probably get there around 5:15. Are you hungry? I need to stop at Twisted Fisherman to pick up my W-2 from last year, and we could eat there first. So she says, okay, and yes. Are we eating at the Brat House or the other place? He tells her, let's eat at Twisted. I'm feeling seafood. And she responds, I love seafood. And just like that, her life forever changes. Her life is cut short because she went out to dinner with this man. Sade drives her 2020 Honda Civic to meet Maxwell for their first date. She arrives at around 5:20 p.m. and he is already at the Twisted Fisherman, where he is patiently waiting at the bar. So she spots him, heads over, sits down beside him. They're there for about an hour. They order food and they have drinks. And according to patrons, they appear to be having a good conversation. They pay their bill and then they leave. Then they head to another bar called Duke's on the Water, and they head in her car. Now, I don't know where his car was. I don't know if he drove a car there, if he caught a bus there. I don't know that situation. But I personally, knowing that this is the first time that I'm meeting you in person, I don't think I would allow you to ride in my vehicle. But it's safe to say that she trusted him. So because she trusted him, he occupied her vehicle. Surveillance footage captures them arriving in the parking lot at Duke's at around 6:30 p.m. as they go to that second bar. So footage inside the bar shows the two of them having more drinks and talking. This time they remain there for a couple of hours and they leave a little bit after 9 p.m. The cameras capture them once again getting in her car. But no one knows what happens after this, because after 9 p.m., after she gets in that car, she is no longer heard from. Based on court documentation, it is assumed that she agreed to go back to his house. Now, I don't know if it's because he needed a ride home or if it's because they were having a good time and they decided to go home and watch a movie or something. We don't know how it is that he got her to agree to go there, but she ended up there. Sade, who always maintained contact with her family, was never late for work, right? She's a reliable person, a reliable employee, always shows up on time or early. It is not her style not to respond to text message. It is not her style not to answer her manager. So her friends and family and job find it odd that on the next day, April 2nd, 2024, none of them had heard from her. As I said, she communicates with her people so often that they find this to be concerning because she wasn't responding to texts or phone calls. She was scheduled to work at Pizza Shuttle and she didn't show up. So her manager tries to call her and they get no answer. And people are reaching out all day and they're not getting any type of response. And as I said, this is not like her. So everyone is worried. Now, what her friends and family are unaware of was that that morning on April 2nd, the Milwaukee Fire Department receives a call at around 7:32 a.m. about a 2020 Honda Civic that is being engulfed in flames. So the evening comes and no one still has heard from her. Around 9 p.m. on that same day, one of her friends is like, forget this. Something has to be done. So they attempt to file a missing persons report at the police station. Now, I'm not sure what happened at the police station because I know there's rules about, having to be missing for 24 hours and things of that nature. But because the police were alerted to this and they were aware of her not responding and her not showing up for work, and the last record of her being on Snapchat while she was at Duke's at that restaurant, they decide to issue a BOLO, a be on the lookout, right, for her, including her information. Police go to the apartment, knock on the door to do a wellness check. They get no answer. Now, Sade's family and friends already started looking for her after a certain point without getting any response. So everybody's searching for her. So as I said, the car was discovered on April 2nd. Several hours after her car was found, a call goes out to the police. Two friends are at this park, and at the park there's a beach area. And they're on a walk and they discover a human leg. They call it in. The Milwaukee County Sheriffs arrive at the park. I don't want to say it wrong. WARNIMONT Park. And they are guided to the area and they see what appears to be the right leg of an African-American female. Her leg is collected and taken to the medical examiner. The medical examiner quickly determines that the person who this body part, and I hate to say it this way, you guys, I'm not trying to disrespect her. Based on the medical examiner's findings and the inspection of her leg, it's determined that she's approximately 5 feet tall, whomever this person is. Now, they still don't know that it's Sade because they're not linking everything together yet. But after finding this leg, it causes the investigation to move forward. So the officer who had gone to her apartment earlier to do the welfare check hears about that leg that was discovered because there was a lot of media coverage. And she contacts the sheriff to inform them, hey, I received a missing persons report for a young woman who's around 5 feet tall. And based on what you're saying you found, I'm thinking that there may be some type of connection here. Now, there was no way at that time to positively identify who it belonged to, but the fact that it was found the day that she was reported missing was suspicious enough to capture the attention of several agencies. So they then link that car that they found, that Honda Civic, to Sade. This is all found out within the day. Like, they were moving quickly. I know there's some things out there that have different, narratives because of, the color of her skin. However, I will say that in this first part, that officers were looking. Now, some family members and some friends feel like they weren't doing enough, but people were out there and they were trying to, figure things out. So Milwaukee police and the sheriff's department exchange information. And officer for the police department and a detective from the sheriff's office go to the building where Sade lives, right? They speak to the maintenance worker there who knows Sade. He's familiar with Sade, and he tells them that, I saw her earlier on the 1st. She had a date scheduled, but it was scheduled for later. Last time I saw her was in the morning. So the officers are like, okay, do you guys have any surveillance? And they're like, yeah, we got some footage you could look at. So they look at the footage and they do see her that she left the building at 9 a.m. on April 1st. So with that, no one still has heard from her. Her vehicle is discovered. They found an African-American female's leg in the park. They still don't know where she is. They decide, we have enough information, we have enough probable cause that we can go ahead and get records for her cell phone, right? So her phone records are requested from Verizon Wireless. They get it. They're able to see the messages that I read to you all, as well as the calls that have been made on her call log and the location. It's quickly discovered that the last messages from her phone were from a 262 area code. In the paperwork from the court, it actually has Maxwell's full number and it has her phone number, right? And the number is searched in the police database and it comes back to Maxwell Anderson. They go to the bar where they saw they were supposed to meet at to confirm whether or not they were there. The owner and the manager lets detectives know, yeah, they were here. Maxwell actually used to work here, and he did come and get his W-2. But he told us he was going to stay because he was waiting on his date, a girl that he was going to be meeting for the first time in person. They review footage. It shows them sitting together at the bar, as I said. So it's April the 3rd at this point. Police are trying to figure out her movement still. After seeing this story on the news, one of her friends comes forward, lets officers know that Sade had the Life 360 app on her phone. Now, this app is designed to allow you to see your friends and family's locations. It's a great way to track one another, especially in cases like these, right? So she's like, the last ping that I saw when I looked at the app was on April 2nd. It's pinging that it was at the park at around 4:33 a.m., which means that 3 hours after that, her car was discovered on fire. So after hearing about this, the detectives are like, okay, we got to look into this app. We got to look into this Life 360 app. They look into it. And they're able to see even more of her path. They're able to see the time that she left Duke's and her also being in the vicinity of Maxwell's home. And that app pinged off of that area for several hours. After that, the phone travels to several other locations before last pinging at the park where the leg was found. At 4:35 a.m., the Life 360 app indicates that the phone's battery is dead. And when I read that, I said, something about that seems so final to me. Because it's clear based on the information that has been gathered that she was killed in that home. Officers now feel like this has gone from a missing persons case to a murder investigation. And Maxwell Anderson is the prime suspect because he is the last person who communicated with her or saw her. Because of the severity of the situation, and because it's been discovered, all these other things, police are able to obtain a search warrant and an arrest warrant for Maxwell Anderson. Shortly after 1 p.m. on April 4th, he's pulled over and placed under arrest. His home is searched and items of concern are found. They find gasoline containers in the garage. There's blood found in the bedroom on bedding and on the wall leading to the basement. They find some stuff in the basement as well. Later on, after it was reported, a CI, which happens to be a friend of Anderson's, they're not saying how close or not, informed officers that this was planned, that Maxwell had previously talked about committing a crime, seeking out a girl, bringing her to his home, bringing her to his basement, shooting her, and then dismembering her. And I don't know if all of those things happened, but we do know that she was in his home and she was dismembered. But here's the thing, you guys. The CI was informed of this by Maxwell back in March. That CI went over to Maxwell's house, and while at Maxwell's house, saw tarp, saw tape, saw a sling, saw handcuffs, and 3 saws. And knowing what he said he was going to do, that person did not decide to contact police until after this girl's death. We got to do better than this, people. We got to be better at caring about each other. Because whether or not they found anything, her life could have been saved had the CI reported what he was saying, the threats that he was making. So as I said, he's pulled over. He is then placed in police custody. Investigators continue to search for evidence. On Saturday, April 6, 2 days after his arrest, they returned to the area where her car was found. They canvassed the area. In my opinion, they should have done that the moment that they found the car, because if a car is on fire, if somebody is burning up something, they're obviously trying to conceal evidence, right? People don't just say, oh, I'm going to light this brand new car on fire. Doesn't make sense. So as they're canvassing, a detective ends up finding her foot. It is collected, sent to the medical examiner's office, where they confirm that the nail polish on that foot matches the polish that they found from the other foot and leg a few days prior. So at this point, officers then say, let's canvass the whole area. Let's see if we can find surveillance footage that shows us what may have happened, how these even got here. They go to a food mart and they look at a video where there's 2 people who walking on Lisbon Avenue. As they slowed near this lot, a 3rd person with a tan backpack crosses the street heading south. The other person appears to be shocked on the camera and is pointing at the person that came out of nowhere, the 3rd person. That person has on a backpack, and that person is trying to flag down cars that are going by, shouting, right? Well, apparently what was being shouted is, he did it, call the fire department, because those 2 people saw Maxwell fleeing from the scene after lighting the car on fire. So the investigators find the individuals that they see, the 2 in the tape, and they report that it was a white male that exited her Honda Civic, lit it on fire, and walked westbound. They witnessed it. So they look for even more footage, and they trace the man that they saw with the tan backpack as he walked west, eventually boarding a bus that headed north towards where Maxwell lives. On that bus, they have a camera, and it captured Maxwell's face. It's a match. They know it's him. It so happens that the hoodie that's seen on the various angles of footage is the same hoodie that he had when he got arrested. So on April 13th, 2024, Maxwell Anderson was officially charged with 1st-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and arson of property other than a building. On April 18th, her torso and arm are found by another woman who is walking her dog near the beach. So, to my knowledge, he disposed of her in various areas, and her body still has not been completely recovered. I believe they're still missing her face and, well, her head, I should say, and something else. I'm sorry to be so descriptive, but I want us to understand just how much damage was done. It's not easy to do that to a person. It's not easy. It's not to negate anything, but they say like strangling someone and stabbing someone, those are all personal things that take time versus you know, shooting someone. And I just can't help but think about how much time he had with her to rethink what he was doing, how many opportunities he had to stop it, and he didn't. Instead, he cut her up and hasn't even given her family the peace that they require because he's not saying anything. He's not explaining anything. He's accused of killing Sade after their date and then dismembering her before dumping her body parts across Milwaukee County. His trial was set to begin on December 9th, 2024, but it was postponed. The court set a new trial date for May 27th, 2025. So her family is still waiting for justice. Her father said, "For a parent to have to deal with this type of trauma and tragedy, it's inconceivable. It's almost like I wake up to live a nightmare every day. I got so many questions I can't answer. They came here to get my DNA to match up because they said my DNA was stronger than her mother's. So I was hoping that it wasn't her. That little girl was my world. She changed my life. She was a beautiful, beautiful soul." Her life ended in a horrifying way. And there's still so much that we do not know. We do not know what he did to her. We do not know if she suffered. We don't even know where all of her remains are because they still haven't found everything. A beautiful, goal-oriented, driven young woman was murdered after her first date. It could have been any one of us. I met my boyfriend off of a dating website. Who thinks that these are the things that you have to worry about? Now, I know we're told stories, but who thinks that if you go to a public place, to a restaurant, that it would end in something as tragic as this? Her family and friends plan on continuing to honor her memory, ensuring that she is not forgotten. Now, there have been some issues, even though they still haven't come to a conclusion on this case, because they're fighting over things like her memorial. A memorial piece was done for her, a painting was done for her, but they wanted to do something in the park, and taxpayers started fussing about paying for it. So it got to the point where, as of a week ago, the family decided that they'll pay for it. I just think with all that the family's been through, that they shouldn't have to worry about things like that. Her mother and her sister accepted her diploma back in May as they walked across the stage wearing pink. Her sister did, in remembrance of her sister. She was going to have her associates at 19 years old, and just like that, it was taken away. Sade had goals that she didn't yet accomplish. But before she could finish college, before she could live out her life, she was murdered. And her brutal death rocked so many and left a family shattered. Although her alleged killer was caught, calling it justice, in my opinion, feels hollow. It feels like justice has yet to be served. Because Sade will never have a chance to live the life that she deserved to live. Y'all, let me know your thoughts on this. May Sade rest in peace.